Emily Carter never thought she'd agree to a blind date. As a single mom working 2 jobs and raising her 7-year-old son, Ben, romance had become a luxury she couldn't afford. But her best friend, Megan, wouldn't stop insisting. "Come on, Em, he's a teacher, kind, stable, and single," Megan said over the phone. "You deserve a night out that doesn't involve frozen pizza and bedtime stories." Reluctantly, Emily agreed. That Friday evening, she walked into the Silver Vine, an upscale restaurant that smelled faintly of jasmine and grilled salmon. Her worn-out dress had been pressed 3 times, and she'd borrowed Megan's heels. She clutched her small handbag nervously, glancing around for a man named Tom, the supposed schoolteacher. The hostess smiled. "Reservation for Carter?" "Yes, I'm meeting someone," Emily replied. The hostess gestured toward a corner table where a tall man in a navy suit sat reading a menu. His presence was commanding, sharp jawline, expensive watch, and that quiet confidence of someone who didn't need to prove anything. Emily hesitated for a second but then reminded herself not to judge. Maybe he just liked to dress well. She approached, smiling shyly. "Hi, Tom." The man looked up, momentarily surprised. Yes, hi." His voice was deep, smooth, but cautious. He gestured for her to sit. They began talking, or rather, she did most of the talking. Emily told him about her son, her work at the community library, and how she hadn't been on a date in years. The man listened intently, occasionally asking thoughtful questions. "You seem genuine," he said after a while. "It's refreshing." Emily blushed. "I'm just me, I guess." Halfway through dinner, she noticed the waiter bringing champagne to another table and whispering something to a man who looked exactly like hers. For a moment, she froze. Then the waiter looked at her table, confusion flashing across his face. "Sir," the waiter said carefully, "your guest has just arrived, she's waiting by the bar." The man blinked, then turned to Emily. "Wait, you're not here for a business dinner?" Her cheeks flamed. "You're not Tom," he chuckled softly, shaking his head. "No, I'm Nicholas Hale. I thought you were the new investor I was meeting." Emily's heart dropped into her stomach. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry, I must've." He lifted a hand, stopping her. "Don't apologize. Honestly, this has been the most enjoyable dinner I've had in months." She stared, stunned. Nicholas Hale. The name sounded familiar, too familiar. She'd read about him in a magazine once, the youngest billionaire tech CEO in the city. She quickly gathered her purse, stammering, "I should go. I'm so embarrassed." But Nicholas smiled warmly. "At least let me walk you out." As they reached the exit, he added, "You know, fate's funny. You sat at the wrong table, but maybe it wasn't the wrong place." Emily couldn't help but smile, her heart pounding. She didn't know it then, but that night would change everything. Emily tried to push the memory away the next morning, but it kept replaying like a movie. Nicholas Hale, the billionaire who'd treated her with such respect, who'd laughed at her stories, had felt too good to be real. But life had a way of reminding her where she stood. By noon, she was back at the library, stamping overdue books and helping children find fairy tales. Her manager's voice broke through her thoughts. "Emily, there's someone asking for you at the front desk." She walked out, and froze. Nicholas Hale stood there, wearing a gray coat and holding a coffee cup. "I hope this isn't too forward," he said with that same calm smile. "You left before I could ask something important." Emily blinked. "You came here." "I did. I thought maybe we could continue our conversation, this time, on purpose." Her coworkers were staring, whispering. Emily could feel her face burn. "Mr. Hale, Nicholas," he corrected gently. "And please, let me take you to lunch. My assistant found the best place for grilled cheese sandwiches in town. I think Ben would approve." She blinked again, startled. "You remember my son's name?" "I remember everything you said," he replied simply. Lunch turned into dinner. Dinner turned into a weekend outing with Ben at the city's science museum. For the first time in years, Emily felt seen, not as the struggling single mom, or the woman who got left behind, but as herself. Nicholas didn't flaunt his wealth. He listened, laughed, and asked questions that made her feel important. Yet deep down, she was terrified. She'd been burned before. Ben's father had promised the world and vanished when things got hard. She couldn't let that happen again. One evening, as Nicholas dropped them home, he said quietly, "Emily, you've taught me something money never could, how it feels to have someone care without expectation." Her throat tightened. Nicholas, I don't know if I fit in your world. He smiled sadly. You don't have to. Maybe it's my turn to fit into yours. A few weeks later, Emily got a notice from the landlord. Her rent had increased, and she'd have to move. Panic set in. She tried everything, extra shifts, cutting expenses, but it wasn't enough. When Nicholas found out, he didn't offer money. Instead, he offered something else. Come work for me, he said. You mentioned you used to write newsletters for the library. I need someone to handle our foundation's community outreach. It pays well, and it's your kind of work. Emily hesitated. You're offering me a job. I'm offering you a chance, not charity. She took it. Working for the Hale Foundation was like stepping into another universe, glass walls, modern offices, polished floors. But Nicholas made sure she never felt out of place. He even made space in the office for Ben to do his homework after school. Weeks turned into months, and their connection deepened, not just in stolen glances or kind gestures, but in the quiet understanding that they were better together. One night, as a storm raged outside, Nicholas stopped by her office. You never told me what you wanted most, he said softly. Emily smiled faintly. Stability. A place where my son and I belong. He stepped closer, his voice low. Then let me give you that. Before she could respond, the power flickered, and then went out completely. They laughed in the darkness, their faces inches apart. And for the first time, Emily didn't feel afraid. Months later, during a charity gala hosted by the Hale Foundation, Nicholas took the stage. Cameras flashed, music faded, and his gaze found her in the crowd. There's someone here tonight who reminds me that success isn't about wealth or power, he said. It's about kindness, about courage, about showing up, even when life tries to break you. He stepped down from the stage and walked straight to Emily, holding out a velvet box. Her heart stopped. Inside was a small, elegant ring, nothing extravagant, just timeless. I know you sat at the wrong table that night, Nicholas said, voice trembling slightly. But it led me to the right person. Emily Carter, will you marry me? The crowd gasped. Emily's eyes filled with tears. She thought of the woman who had almost skipped that blind date, the woman who'd thought she wasn't enough. Now, she saw herself through his eyes, strong, worthy, loved. Yes, she whispered, her voice breaking. 1,000 times yes. Ben ran to them, throwing his arms around both of them as the crowd erupted in applause. Nicholas kissed her forehead and murmured, I guess the wrong table wasn't so wrong after all. And as they stood there, a single mom, her son, and the billionaire who saw their worth, Emily realized something she'd always forgotten. Sometimes, life's biggest blessings begin with a simple mistake.